समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा?
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
A shocking tragedy from Kerala has raised some disturbing and uneasy conversations for men and women alike. A woman, an influencer, filmed a video in which she said that a man was harassing her on a crowded public bus. The video went viral. In the video, you could only see and just about the man's elbow brushing against the woman's clothes very, very briefly. The woman claimed it was sexual harassment. The video was seen 20 lakh times. The public humiliation made the man, a man in his 40s, take his own life. Deepak died by suicide, and many are asking whether what happened on the bus was really sexual harassment or was it a woman trying to engage in what's called follower farming, putting out content that is deliberately attention seeking to increase your online engagement and your followers. The woman has now been charged with abetment to suicide by Kerala authorities. But wider questions remain. Every Indian woman has at some point in her life experienced being groped in a public space, especially those of us who have grown up using crowded public transport. But that doesn't mean that that's necessarily what happened here. At least going by the videos put out by the female who complained, it doesn't seem apparent at all, raising, as I said, disturbing and uneasy questions. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we're looking at the shocker out of Kerala. Deepak, the man you see on your left, was accused by the woman you see on your right of sexual harassment. The lady claimed that as she was traveling on a crowded bus with the man, his elbow brushed against her. She filmed a selfie video, a video in which she is oddly smiling even while she's filming it, and she claims that the man's elbow brushed against her. Now, as I said, being molested, groped, pawed, pinched in public places on public transport is a story that every Indian woman of all ages has experienced at some point in her life. But is that what happened here? Was this harassment or was it follower farming? The woman's video was seen millions of times. It led to the man dying by suicide. A horrific, tragic story. There is now an official complaint against the woman for abetment to suicide, raising also disturbing and uneasy questions. On the one hand, are women who are actually battling abuse, the abuse of power, sexual abuse, sexual harassment in public and private spaces alike. And on the other hand, is what we have seen, a trivialization of the entire conversation with lethal consequences, with one life gone. I want to introduce our panel today as we look at the questions raised by this horrible Kerala tragedy. Dilip Cherian, political analyst, commentator, brand guru, is with us. Welcome, Dilip. Always a pleasure. Also, one of the country's foremost lawyers. I was just going to introduce her, but her camera's gone to black. Mrinalini Deshmukh is with us. We'll introduce her in a moment. In the meantime, let me bring up Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate, to the program. Good to see you, Sanjay. And also joining me is Ranjana Kumari. I see Ranjana Kumari there, who's one of the country's best-known feminist voices. And also joining me is Rahul Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar is, of course, from Kerala. He's also among those who has actually filed a complaint against the lady who basically released the video around this man who has so tragically died by suicide. Rahul has had his own brush with law in another case involving 3 rape charges against a Congress MLA. So I don't know if you can hear me, Rahul, but hopefully you'll be able to hear me when we come to you. Let's get started. Ranjana Kumari, you can't hear me, Rahul, please reconnect. Ranjana, I want to start with you, actually. You know, as I said, there isn't a woman in India who hasn't experienced this at some point in her life. But looking at the video here, it's not at all clear that that's what happened at all. I mean, you look at the video, you can barely see an elbow touching a piece of clothing. The woman, while filming the video, is actually smiling. I mean, is this an absolute trivialization with lethal consequences?
Well, I think one life lost way too many, Barkha, in this case, because this is really the whole issue is of media trial, because the video went viral, and also she did not care to follow the due process. You know, if it really happened, I mean, like
Correct.
when I looked at the video, I was quite shocked that, you know, this is something. And also I tried to find out if there was any connect between the two. Was she trying to bring him down? Was it any kind of animosity in the background, or any kind of competition? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the relationship between the two was. It really someone completely not known to each other and try to do this kind of I would say that this was really let me put it like this. You know, justice framework must protect women, that we all believe in, and we all think that this is something that was her rights were violated. If we, even by, you know, as you said, we all have faced it, and we know what you feel when it happens to you. But really, I know you can't really do irreversible harm to someone. I mean, to the extent that life, he killed himself. I mean, how is this whole story is acceptable to anybody, even to a feminist, that, you know, this is not something she should have done. But on the other side, I just want to bring a point here, that when you go to, say, for example, it really happened and she walks into the police station to complain, do you think there would have been any kind of hope for justice for her? So it's also a consequence of failing system, not only using the social media and trying to become popular, or as you said, social media farming, but, and then what happens to the social media companies who allow such kind of videos to go viral without any, verification, without any trying to find out what is the authenticity of such a video, because you don't see the real molestation or happening, anything that was happening. It could be that when you are coming out of the bus, your hand just, you know, touches somebody else's
Yeah.
body. Maybe there was no purpose behind it, there was no intention behind it, but it happened. So I also feel there is the collective, and this is real story today unfolding for everybody everywhere, because especially in India, because social media does not hold is not held accountable for such things. You know, the laws and the government and the police really is not trusted and believed in, that you will get, a woman will get justice. Maybe they would have laughed at her, they would have looked at her and said, what were you, you know, and something like that. She would have never got the justice. And also, as a woman who has gone through this experience, if it was happening to her, then why should she keep quiet about it, you know? So for me, from all the three angles, this needs to be understood from the gender perspective, from women's perspective, that when women face such crises, when women are insulted and her dignity is violated, what should she do? Where should she go?
So
Using social media,
I think the important point is of due process, right? I think the important
yeah.
process is that because the point is that anybody can get onto a social media, and look, I come from the school of thought that believe women, and we all come from that school of thought of believe women. But how should we believe women when they can basically make a sweeping allegation against somebody, and in this particular case, it has cost the man his life. Again, I'm not saying abetment to suicide is a very tricky. It's a very tricky area, and we don't know if a woman should be held responsible for an actual harasser. I think the problem here is that we don't know if he is the actual or if he is an actual harasser. Before I get the lawyers into this, Dilip, your thoughts, and then I'll get Rahul if his connection holds. Dilip?
Thanks, Barkha. I heard Ranjana's spirited take on this, but I think the more important thing that we are forgetting is context. Uh, in Kerala, if she had gone to a police station, she would certainly have got a hearing. By and large, that is the context in which this needs to be understood. Secondly, while I know and have empathy and have heard from lots of my women colleagues, family members, of issues to do with nudging, molesting, pushing, shoving, all of which happens in crowded public spaces, I think that if one looks at how Kerala has evolved over the years, this is not as big a factor. I'm not saying it's missing. I'm not saying it does not exist. But I'm saying in general that it is easier to farm viewers with this kind of thing using a Kerala example, which is what I think is the allegation. Now, unfortunately, the big fact we cannot, any of us can hide, is the fact that we've lost a life. And that puts a completely different perspective on this. I think that social media platforms are a soft and irrelevant target. There is no way that they could have brought a stop to this, because if an influencer who has a certain audience puts out something, it is usually far too late by then to try and make amends by choking it off. And I definitely don't want the state to have the role of a nanny in all of this. So, in general, I would say that context is the thing which needs to be put into place when we are discussing this specific episode.
But
And
but
the
Dilip,
fact
if
that
sorry, I just want to ask you if you believe social media platforms are the soft target. Ranjana says the social media platforms cannot really allow this sort of casual finger pointing, accusing somebody of sexual abuse without the evidence to back it up. Then who is responsible? Because the point is, the police. There's
the
no evidence that the police would not have given her a hearing. She didn't try to
the
go to the police.
perpetrator in this case is very clearly this kind of influencer, and their numbers are legion, and they are growing in both power and unfortunately in numbers of views. So we need to understand that we the people stand
Yeah.
accused, because it really is the fact that we don't have any filters of our own, and we want social media platforms to start shoving those filters onto our eyes.
Okay, let me bring in the two lawyers and then come to Rahul for an on-ground perspective. To Mrinali, if you can hear me, why don't we start with you? What do you make of this particular horrible, horrible case?
So I think there are two aspects to it, Barkha. Number one is assuming for the sake of argument, and as a lawyer, I would say assuming without admitting that there was an sort of attempt on the part of the gentleman to sort of violate her modesty or to touch her inappropriately or to cause any kind of things. Obviously, not acceptable, not acceptable, not acceptable. But the question here is, if that has been happened, he has to be brought to the to his knees. How do you do that? There is a process in place. You have to make a complaint. You have to follow the due process of law. What is it that you are gaining by going on a social media? You're doing two things. You're talking about you being violated, which is bad enough, and you are putting somebody else's name without any evidence to that effect. You have already finished him off. Forget the
Yeah.
legal process. You have completely finished him off within the family, within the social circle, within all his friends and all. I'm not saying that you should let go of him free, scot free. Not at all. But isn't there a due process of law? Isn't there a rule of law? Can I take law in my own hands and do that? In fact, just to give you a little different perspective, in some of my interviews, I've said that when these sexual harassment cases which are made at the workplace, why do you definitely don't give the victim's name? But why do you give the accused name or the perpetrator's name? Because it is not yet proved. You've already caused a damage to his life. And I have been on the committees and I've seen 8 out of 10 cases that there were false cases filed by women for ulterior motives. Now here I am fighting for the women's right, their safety, their security, as Ranjana ji has rightly stated. But that does not mean I take law in my own hands. And that is where, at what cost are we doing this, Barkha? At the cost of somebody else's life? I'm not talking about it. But why can't we follow the due process? At the end of it, he may be found guilty or not found guilty.
There is no. I hear you completely, and I think it actually trivializes the graver complaints, the actual complaints that women struggle sometimes to get heard on. Sanjay, I think the problem is the Me Too movement, born globally, was born from the argument that women felt that the system had failed them. Now, here we are talking about all Ranjana, Dilip, Mrinalini, all have made the point about why didn't she go to the police if she really believed she was harassed. The fact is, firstly, I don't actually think, looking at the video, that there is any evidence of any sort of harassment. That said, if the woman believed she'd been harassed, she should have gone to the police. The counter argument for many women would be, if you went to the police every time you were pawed or pinched or groped or molested on a public transport, you'd be sitting at the police station. Again, I want to say I don't believe that's what happened here. Going by the videos she's put out, there's no evidence at all. But that would be the counter argument, and that's how. And we can have a different debate on the successes, the hits and misses of the Me Too movement. But that's what the Me Too movement was about. Women arguing that the system has failed us. That's why we don't follow due process.
Well, the system does fail women. It is tilted against women in the sense that not many women come forward to complain. Having said that, you must also be aware that there are many women who game the system. Now, take this case. You're talking about the man's hand. Please look at where her hand was. Her hand.
Can we play the video, please? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just play that video.
Yeah. It's coming up. You keep speaking.
Okay. Yeah. Where is that hand which is reaching out? What is this hand? Where is it going? It is holding a gimbal, a camera gimbal. She is recording it. And she says, I began recording after noticing a woman in front of me was uncomfortable. Yeah. Despite knowing he was being recorded, the man still went ahead and touched me. This shows a deliberate act, a lack of empathy, and the belief that he would face no consequences. Now, what does this show you? It shows that she's almost looking for a gotcha moment. Yeah. And that's what seems to have happened. You see, when you are taking a video, you want the vision of a tiger in the wild or something of that sort. You need that gotcha moment. And here she has just done that. She wanted her gotcha moment that this man is a harasser. I decided to be a vigilante with a video camera. I have filmed him in the act. And she went out with it. That is why she did not go to the police. And often, social media, with its power of shaming the individual, naming and shaming, is seen as punishment far greater than that which the police can inflict. So this is what we need to be very careful about. Do not believe every video that comes out. Effectively, if there is a video, please ask what legal action has been taken. Yeah. While the lady concerned may have been responsible for for pushing the man over the edge, but all of us who have seen the video, commented on it, forwarded it, we have also cast our own stone.
I agree with that. I think there has to be media literacy around the fact that, so much of what we consume online may in fact not be true. Rahul, before we lose you again, you're on a terrible line. If you want to come in and make your point very quickly, Rahul.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 quick submissions. First of all, thank you to Mojo Story and Barkha. Perhaps this is one of the very few and very first discussions that is pro-man and somewhere tilted towards man and addressing
pro-truth. Pro-truth, not a pro-man or pro-woman.
If you can be pro-woman, you can be pro-man too, when truth is with him. When somebody can...
True, yeah. Whoever has the truth, one should be supporting that. That's
Absolutely.
all.
And this is a case, this is a classic case. We have already announced rupees, some kind of a financial support to them of 1 lakh. We would be handing over 2 lakh to them tomorrow. We have raised nearly 2 lakh rupees. I'll be personally visiting them. Right now, I'm in Hyderabad. I'll be going to Calicut or Kozhikode and meeting with their family and giving them this 2 lakh rupees. And we will be supporting them for the case against this particular person till the end. So only 2 submissions we have. First of all, one, he is not at all a culprit. It is very clear from the video that he was not doing anything and she was creating a content. She was using him as a content so that, she could garner views, and it nearly got 27 lakhs or nearly 3 million views. So she had her result. But I'm sure she didn't mean to cause any kind of suicide to him. Maybe it was unfortunate. So that's the reason why we are asking for abetment to suicide and IT Act to be put on her. And this is also occasion we rightly point out that the needs for men's commission. Kerala was the first state to draft a men's commission law back in 2025 February, and we have presented it in the assembly as a private member bill. Interesting thing, both the left and Congress or all the other parties are afraid to take it up because they feel they will be branded anti-woman. But thankfully, AAP's MP Dr. Ashok Kumar Mittal has presented a private member bill in Rajya Sabha for the men's commission. We want such
let me ask you why. Let me ask you why. Because that's where you may lose a number of people who may agree with you up until you said that. The reason there are women's commissions, as you well know, is that what has happened here, it's terrible, but it is not the norm. The norm is, or the more common experience statistically is that women experience sexual abuse and harassment both in public places and often sometimes in their circles of trust as well. That is why women's commissions. That is why women's commissions exist, right? What is a man's commission for?
Okay. But can I ask you a counter question? If the commissions are only for disadvantaged group, why is there Youth Commission of India? In Kerala, there is a Youth Commission. Modiji's government 2024 October brought about a bill for Youth Commission. So commissions are quasi-courts or quasi-judicial bodies which can help empower or which can help support a particular group. We are asking for it right after Kerala has framed this. It has not been presented. In Rajya Sabha, it has been framed. And please remember, let me quote a BBC report where BBC quotes another report which says nearly 53.2% cases in India, especially regarding rape cases, can be called as false rape cases. I agree the rate of conviction cannot be a yardstick because sometimes it is not proved. So it's a contentious area and many people have lost their life, lost their careers because of this. Let me point out two quick examples which everyone can relate. Kerala's most beloved Chief Minister, Sri Ummanchandi, was hunted for years on everyone know or a fake complaint. At last, finally, court also proved that it was a fake complaint and he was exonerated. One of the most celebrated movie artists, Dilip, in which case you have also taken up, Dilip was exonerated by court, categorically saying there is not even an iota of evidence. He was hounded for nearly 7 to 8 years. One of the celebrated movie stars, Nivin Pauly, a rape was alleged against him in Dubai. At the same point of time, he was in Kochi. So there has been a number of cases where this has been misused. Yeah. Let us be honest about it. So what we need is a balance.
Okay, Rahul, I just want to say that I interviewed the actor concerned in the Dilip case, and I have, I don't believe that it's a very complex thing you're saying. When a court exonerates somebody, the lawyers here will say that once it goes up the chain of the courts, you have to accept it. You don't have a choice. It doesn't mean you always agree with the court. We have seen the Delhi High Court in the Unnao rape case, for example. There was such an outrage against the fact that Kuldeep Singh Sengar was basically told that your life imprisonment can be changed, you can be given bail, that the higher court had a different view. So I'm saying is
should we brand Dilip till the time of his death as a rapist or
it's a fair question, and it takes us to the heart of the debate around the Me Too movement. For the feminist movement, these are very, very difficult and complex questions. Again, let me start with Ranjana, then come to Dilip, and then come to the lawyers. Rahul, I also have questions about your own case. You also experienced detention by the police, but we'll come to that later. Let's raise what you've brought up. As if everybody else, everybody in this program seems to agree that this is a clear case of the misuse of the law by the woman. She was using the video to make content. Dilip says blame the influencer culture. You say blame the social media platform. Women might say blame the system that has betrayed us and created these situations where it is now kosher to step outside of the system and make these allegations. When Rahul says, give us a man's commission, and also don't name the accused, we are in a country where the raped woman or the abused woman is not named typically. And I always wondered why that is the case. But Mrinalini saying, why even name the accused? Ranjana, what do you say to everything you've heard?
Well, I think, this is a little bit of, the situation at the moment is such that certainly we all are feeling that destroying reputation without evidence violates constitutional rights of a person, and yet this is what precisely has happened. And also it is a very, very typical case of online vigilantism, that people without thinking, without anything, they start
Ranjana, it doesn't even seem vigilantism. It seems, as somebody said, content creation. I think that's the point. It seems like content creation.
Yeah, so there is no doubt that here there is something which has slipped out of, I don't know why. I'm again questioning it. suicide has happened just by seeing the video being circulated, or the person was already into some kind of this needs investigation. Certainly this needs, somebody has to go deep into the whole issue. Without just at the surface, we are at the moment are reacting. We don't know what was the actual situation with the family. Was he really going through some depression? What happened really?
Yeah.
So that's, I keep that aside, because that I don't know at the moment. That's not a very
that's fair. That's fair. We need much greater investigation into what led the man to take his own life.
Yes. So, but then, it's very interesting that whenever such incidents happen where a woman is involved in this kind of a case, where immediately, there is some kind of a call for a commission for men. But does Rahul know that there are over 5 lakh, 6 lakh cases every year now? It's increasing every year. Do you know, till date, we are killing 6,000 girls for dowry in this country? Do you know? I mean, I don't want to reel out all the data because we do day and night this kind of a argument. So all that. So I think this is something which injustices to women in the country needs to be really dealt with. There is no doubt about that. And for that, you can't immediately start. Of course, there are aberrations. There are women who are, overstating. But then for that, we have a justice system. We have lawyers, we have justice delivery system, we have courts, which will decide if you've told a lie or you really are the right complaint that you've made.
But then are we saying movements like Me Too today, we stand reviewing those movements if everything is to be determined by the courts?
Well, Barkha, you also know, and I know personally also, that how many women have suffered for one woman to come forward and say, this is what happened to me. My boss tried to bully me. He took me for I will tell you typical one small case which recently we are dealing with of a very big bank, very famous bank. Now, I don't want to mention more than that. The boss sits on the table in his, shorts, and then shakes his leg and says that, and then gives dictations. Now, these days, how many bosses give dictation? But anyway, maybe perhaps some scheduling of the program. And this girl then says, let's go and have a coffee at 9 o'clock in the night. Now, what should this girl do? Where should she go, and who should? Even this much of a gesture. How many men can really put their hand on their heart and say that we did not try to exploit our subordinate, who was whatever? I mean, a girl.
But that doesn't mean a woman can.
How many can? No. That's that. I totally. But then what? No. But what is the reality? I do reality check. Who has the upper hand in terms of power relations?
Okay, let me come in. I think you make an important point, and I want to bring in Dilip at this point, and then I'll come to you, Mrinalini and Sanjay and Rahul in that order. Dilip, we have just had a case of a DGP ranked officer in Karnataka who's been suspended after sleazy videos seem to show him having what I will have to imagine is non-consensual sexual interactions in his office, right? No, the women haven't come forward, come forth and spoken, but he's a powerful man, and there is more than one such video. The point Ranjana is making, and it's the same point I would submit to Rahul, is that the abuse of male power is much more common than the false complaint. The false complaint is the aberration. What is much more common, take Kerala, for example. There was a very, very strong Me Too movement that led to the Hema Commission report. Rahul, you are aware of this, that led to a cleanup of the Kerala film industry. Those women came out. They did not all of them went to court. Not all of them went to court. They just came out and they told their own stories. It led to the state setting up a commission of inquiry. So due process came. And then the commission of inquiry submitted its findings, at least on how to make the film industry a less hostile place for women. When Rahul says that, look, this is time for a men's commission, what would you say?
I would say that he is actually on the right track. Because if you also know, just like this DGP of Karnataka case, which is now currently making the headlines, just 6 weeks ago we had the headlines of a woman who falsely accused a major industrialist and accused him of rape, which was after years of consensual relationship. So you are, as a feminist, you are well within your right to say, oh, this is the Me Too movement and we should continue to laud it. But we need to recognize, and the problem is coming because ardent feminists and female campaigners are actually now allowing and creating, fomenting, as it were, the situation where the exploiters are able to do the kind of damage that society begins to wonder how, and actually the damage is to the cause. The cause that is happening is that women are being suspected because a few women are turning rogue
But
and
there are
using
few women, but statistically, they are the
that is,
aberration. We
well,
have to
if it is a,
remember the statistical truth is the
Barkha, just
data
give me
that
1
Ranjana.
minute.
Okay, Ranjana, 1
you know,
minute, and then Mrinalini.
Yeah,
Okay,
just 1 minute. I think this is
I
a
don't, you know,
overstatement, I would say, and I'll give it back to him, saying that okay, you have a right to make overstatements, but what is happening? You cannot close your eyes to that. You cannot say that every woman sitting in our, villages, lakhs and thousands of villages in this country sitting and exploiting men. You cannot say that every woman who walks into the police station and the family, where also father is there who's a man, brother is there. You know, in my offices earlier, when women used to come, they will come with a complaint, and family will say, oh, go back. You are just unnecessarily creating problem. Go and do what they're asking you to. Go and adjust. Now the same brother comes and says, I will avenge it. I will revenge it. They
Okay,
hit my...
let Dilip complete
you know,
his
I
point
think,
because
I
yeah.
think that I completely understand Ranjana's emotion and enthusiasm. And having heard that, I'm still saying that we are at a point where society is beginning to question this. And as people who are analyzing this, we need to understand that men's commission, whether it's via private members bill or not, is becoming the kind of issue which a lot of people are rallying around because of the fact that other stories are now surfacing. And the fact that those are surfacing in larger numbers, we need to blame ourselves and the kind of situation that has been created where even if it's only a few are exploiting that for their own ends. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, so Mrinalini, to Dilip's point,
this? Have they gone and complained anywhere? Do we have any kind of data about this?
Okay.
Majority of men.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that's a fair question also. What do the statistics tell us? I think that we have to ask. So Mrinalini, I will ask again. While I do agree with Dilip, and actually everybody, I think we're all on the same page on this. Every time something like this happens, it actually hurts the cause. It hurts the cause of those who are genuine victims, genuine survivors, genuinely going from pillar to post, trying to get a hearing, trying to get the system to be more sensitive, trying to get the workplace to be more conducive to an equal, safe working environment. This lady, I'm sorry, unless more facts emerge, has done a disservice to all women who are genuinely fighting for safety and equality. However, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Is the answer to throw out the baby with the bathwater? Is the answer to undo decades of genuine fighting to get, let's say, the Vishaka guidelines, to get, certain things not being acceptable at the workplace, which were considered totally normal 30 years ago for a man to say to a woman?
See, I think we are mixing, as Dilip ji rightly stated, we are mixing emotions, passion, and what the rule of law and the reality is. Nobody is ever saying that such an act, if it was as genuine or as real as that the girl is trying to put in, should not be condemned or should be allowed. Definitely not. I mean, we are all women and we want to do that. The question that we have to see, and the broader question that we have to deal with, that should women organizations who give empowers to who try to empower the women not also have some kind of a thing that, listen, our cause is bigger, please do not trivialize it, please do not abuse it. Today what happens is most of the women, and I deal with them, whether they are in family courts as wives, whether they are victims in some other cases, etc. Oh, the law is on my side, the court is on my side. This is what I see every day in court. Now, with this kind of bravado that they have, that nothing will happen because I'm a woman, I'm going to complain, and the courts are doing it. Yes, some of the courts are doing it. Let me make a very honest and frank statement before this, and I think Sanjay will also agree with me. So when they cry foul, my only question is, if there is a due process of law. Now, let's keep it aside that whether that gentleman has committed suicide because he had depression, he had some family problems, he had anything. Wasn't this a trigger is what we need to know. And was it necessary to put it on a social media, assuming without admitting that the lady felt violated? That is the point that we need to answer.
Hypothetically, I think that's an important question. And hypothetically, my question to Sanjay, Rahul, I have a lot of questions for you, so you have to wait for 1 more minute. My question to you, Sanjay, is hypothetically, if the woman had not released a video, but she had gone and filed a police complaint, basis her own experience of this bus ride, and the man had still tragically taken his own life, then what? See, abetment to suicide is a very complex and a tricky law. It is a highly complex law. Sanjay?
Well, I think it's rather simple. This is not an abetment to suicide. You can't have a crime without an intention. This was not where there was an intention to push the person to suicide or whatever. So I don't think she is in danger there. But first and foremost, I think we need to back off a bit. We don't need to see it as a man versus woman. Or it's
exactly
everybody, the men banding together, the women banding together. Each case turns on its own facts.
Agreed.
And while a woman's complaint is entitled to respect, it should also be carefully considered and audited. What are the circumstances? So it's just like I pointed out that hand out there.
Yeah.
Each of those things tells you a story. May not be the full story, but you consider. The man also, if you do notice that gotcha moment, as it were, he has turned around to get out of the bus. There are people now in front of him, and obviously, when you give place to somebody in the front, you go back. There are several other things. Here, let us not make it into a man's versus woman's issue. The law, yes, today is tilted towards women. The law gives the women.
You really think that? You really think the law is tilted towards women?
The law, as it is administered, if it comes to a court, yes, but the enforcement machinery in the police stations may not. The initial recordings may not.
Yeah.
But the policy of the law, as is fought out in the courts, is to a certain extent to believe the woman.
Okay. I hear you that the process of getting to court is not without hostility in the system. But once you get to court, you believe the courts are generally lean in towards what the woman is saying. Now, Rahul, I want you to come in here and then we have to take last comments. Let's look at your home state of Kerala. I gave you the examples of the Kerala film industry. You saw the Hema Commission report. You saw that it led to a state-appointed intervention, right? When woman after woman in the industry came out and spoke about what had happened to them. Point one. Point two, the Congress MLA now expelled, accused of 3 rape cases, right? 3 rape cases, Rahul Mamkutathil. He's expelled from his party, even though the Congress sometimes defends him, but they've thrown him out. You yourself faced police detention. You were accused of naming one of the complainants, right? How do you look at the fact that when you look at all the evidence of all of these cases, isn't all that the norm rather than what we're talking today? How would you respond to that?
Barkha, 3 quick facts and 3 quick submissions. I was in jail for 16 days. They falsely claimed that, I have published her photo, which turned out to be fake. Then they said I have revealed her identity, which turns out to be fake. Then they booked me under a very peculiar section called, I did sexually colored remark. And court asked, what is a sexually colored remark? They said, we have to investigate and find better. So it's a very easy thing. Any man can easily be booked. And I'm absolutely sure that will not stand any judicial scrutiny. Regarding Rahul Mangutathil, the first 2 cases, court categorically said prima facie, these things will not stand, especially rape allegation will not stand. In the 3rd case, you are right, court said primarily the rape allegation will stand and his bail is denied. So facts are facts. And second, we have been debating for the past nearly 50 minutes. by this time, at least 11 men would have committed suicide in India, according to the NCRB reports, NCRB data. That means almost 4.5 to 5 minutes, one man in India commits suicide. Every 9 to 10 minutes, one woman in India commits suicide. So almost twice the number of men commit suicide is a matter of fact. That's the reason why it is not only false rape cases, it's a whole lot of things. Nobody is saying it is only false rape cases. It is a whole lot of things. So men also need some kind of a report, support. And this is HEMA commission. Sorry, it is HEMA committee, not commission. It has not legally granted the status of a commission, but more of a committee. And in the HEMA committee report itself, High Court in 10 September 2024 said we should give, like Ranjana ma'am, Mrinalini ma'am said, we should also bear in mind the privacy of the people against whom the allegations have been raised. And HEMA committee report, I mean, with all due respect, we all respect HEMA committee report. It turned out not to have any particular fruit other than having a conclave and a seminar, because people were coming and saying 40 years back, I faced an harassment, which is a very important issue. But how to either prove or disprove became a huge issue with that. That's the reason why
40 years ago, Rahul, 40 years ago, the environment didn't exist for a woman to come out and say.
Absolutely, yes. But how can the man disprove it? The similar case happened with Jitendra, our Tushar Kapoor's father, where Himachal Pradesh High Court rightly said 48 years back this woman was alleging.
So this is not unique to India. We have the American case of Harvey Weinstein, and that eventually got converted into a court case. So are we saying?
Can I ask you one question? For example, my father, he's not there. Suppose he's there. One woman is coming and saying that 48 years back there was a Me Too movement with him. If the police is arresting and implicating him and throwing him in jail, how do I prove that he is innocent, or how do I prove that this thing didn't happen? So there needs to be a reasonable balance somewhere.
Let me reverse this because all of you, minus Ranjana, seem to have a certain skepticism and cynicism about what's happening. So let me just ask the question from the reverse side. Sanjay, I'll start with you. Women who come out and say I've been sexually abused, not this lady who has created a viral content on her Instagram page, but typically a woman who takes on somebody powerful, especially if you take on somebody powerful, usually gets character assassinated, usually gets judged. Social response is not always with the woman. I think we should remember that. Societal response is not always with the woman. Would you agree with that? Like, we're making it seem it's very easy for a woman to come out, say this, get justice, the man gets judged. It doesn't necessarily happen like that. Sanjay?
I agree. Initially, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's when the lady persists that the voice is heard. There is, of course, a certain caution which is exercised. Also, when the man is powerful, let's put it this way, that the people who are being complained to are also careful about their chairs. Structurally, a lot of stuff is against the women.
Yeah.
Right from the harassment, because that also is a power equation. When you complain, that is also a power equation. But if you abandon the rule of law, if you abandon general skepticism about every case, all cases should be treated with a degree of healthy skepticism, saying, do these facts add up? It need not be pro-man, anti-woman or anything. Just, does this add up? And then there should be confidence that the process will lead to an outcome which is fair. It can't lead to an outcome of howling social media mobs.
Agreed. Agreed. I agree on the howling social media mobs, but let's remind everybody of a Bhavri Devi, a woman in Rajasthan who was gang raped more than 3 decades ago, still hasn't got justice. There is a Tariq pe Tariq dimension to our courts also, Mrinalini, which makes people lose faith in the legal system. Can we unmute Mrinalini, please? Yeah, go ahead, Mrinalini. Yeah.
Sorry. So I'm not denying that there is delay. There is inordinate delay by the time you get justice, and there is also. But I think as all citizens, we have to respect the due process of law, however time it may take. It should not be that the media, and with utmost respect to all the media channels here and the social media, they cannot be the judge, jury, executioner of this situation. Number one. Number two, in this case, and let's keep this case aside because this has been one of the extreme cases. Even if he was alive today, let us say for the sake of argument, and at the end of it, nothing was found, how many of us would remember or
Yeah.
this would be brought out that this was a false case, this was an accusation which was most unwarranted, and this has damaged this man. He's lost his job, he's lost his family, he's lost everything which is there. What about that? Even if there are 5 or 6 cases out of that, and which we are talking about, don't always compare the numbers. See the overall effect. And that is why we say that even if there are delays, social media is surely not an answer.
I think that much we would all agree.
Is socially not an answer. I'm
Ranjana?
very firm. Trial by media is socially not an answer.
Barkha, just I need a little bit more time. Now, the whole thing is that the clear message is that report to authorities, not to timelines. You know, that's clear from our discussion now. And also the social media is not a court. Fine, we all agree with that. But you know what is hurting these days to a lot of people who are high and mighty, who belong to men from the elite class of this country, because now they are getting affected because women from the elite class are able to fight back and are able to. So whatever is happening in the courts these days. So are courts losing? Are they not really getting to understand the whole issue, and they are making all the judgments against the men? One, and secondly also because now it is the powerful ones who the powerful women are confronting with. Not I can't imagine.
And you're saying,
and that's why Maid Commission. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you're saying that's not possible without social media. You're saying this confrontation would not be possible. I hear. You see, that's why it's a very complicated subject. Dilip, very quickly, got to close. Last word to you, Dilip. Yeah.
Sanjay told us all to take it easy and to, look at it from a little further distance. In Ireland, a teacher who spent 560 days in jail for refusing to address a boy as they has gone back to prison today, and he's been arrested. So, what happens is that when this kind of transgender ideology becomes law, and the law begins to enforce itself, then the pushback also starts. And we need to recognize that this is what is happening here. And as a result, the pushback that is happening, and as I said, because of the context that in Kerala, in general, police do take attention, police do, as Rahul said, that sometimes the action moves very fast. So the fact is that we need to recognize that in this case, definitely, we would probably need to figure out whether it was social media vigilantism gone wild, which is the cause.
Okay, I think somebody was wanting to come in on Dilip's last words. It will have to be absolutely the last word.
I'll just take one line. Let us assume that 80% of cases are genuine. But do we mean to say that 20% of men need to suffer false rape cases or false accusations? That's the reason why we need to have more checks and balances. I totally agree that women needs to have priority, more acceptance in the system. There is no denying there has been centuries of disparity. But at the same point of time, 20 to 25% of male life, career, energy, resources are lost are way too many. So we are requesting for more balance.
I think all I will say in the end is that actually
try the life of 80% of women.
Barkha, one last thing. That as much as we as feminists and people who believe in gender justice want to fight for the women, and we have to do that, but if matters like this come up, we should also condemn it.
100%.
Why should we push it under the carpet?
100%.
We also should condemn it.
100%.
And this is what is happening with some women's organizations.
No, 100%.
Didn't I say in the first sentence that one life lost is too many? One life lost to this kind of a thing is too many. This was my first opening sentence.
I think that is the bottom line, that actually if we do not condemn this trivialization of the issue, the next time somebody really has to battle the system, which it can often be hostile and discriminatory, the number of people who are ready to receive that will be fewer. So every time this happens and we don't condemn it, we're doing a disservice to the cause that we otherwise believe in. Let's leave it there. Thank you very much to Dilip, to Mrinalini, to Sanjay, to Rahul, and to Ranjana, and to our audience. Thank you very much, and see you all very soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.